How is everyone doing? I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lines TV. Welcome to another 5 talking points video, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about why we don't create any opportunities for our forwards. I'm going to be talking about Callum Hudson Atoy and why he needs to start playing. I'm going to be talking about, does Eden Hazard have too much freedom? Should we sympathise for Sarri? And to end things, I'm going to be talking about, is this squad good enough for Sarriball? But before I get into that, you guys, today's video is brought to you by the OneFootball app. Whether you need match facts, stats on players, the fixture list, news on clubs or players, transfer news, everything you need is in your pocket. Make sure you download the OneFootball app. And if you want to help me out, go to the link in the description because that's the only way to help me out. Every time you click on the link, it does get dragged, so OneFootball does know who is downloading the app. If you want to do me a favour, help me out by doing that. But anyway, getting straight into things, starting with the first point, and that's why Callum Hudson Atoy needs to start playing more. Now, I think all of us were quite frustrated that he didn't play a single part in the game. Was it really the right time to punish him for flying with Bayern Munich? Of course not. Now, of course, that's the rumour surrounding Hudson Atoy, but I do have some information, so later on I will be revealing things I am hearing about Callum Hudson Atoy and the club. But let's be serious, I don't think that any of us bought Sarri's excuse for why Hudson Atoy wasn't part of the squad. Like, it's quite baffling. The last game he played for us, he scored and he was effective, so I don't understand why you would slow down his progress by using 2 players that are in the decline, Pedro and Willian. And is it really the right message to send right now after the window's shut? I don't think so. There's no way anyone can tell me that Hudson Atoy is far worse than Pedro and Willian. Both players really frustrate me because they do have their good moments, but it's been that lack of consistency. Now, I completely understand the context and I sympathise. If they had a different manager over their tenure at Chelsea, it would have been completely different for them, but that's not the case. And I think that with this new tactical style and philosophy we want to put in the team, these guys just can't carry out these duties. They've really become complacent because they've profited from no competition down the flanks, and it's no surprise why they can't consistently keep up, and for me, this is why these guys are constantly complacent. But one thing I will be stressing in today's video, just to warn you guys, is Sarri's comments on the team not really getting the basics of the system. Now for me, this is where it makes even more logical sense to start using Callum Hudson Atoy. There's 3 reasons. 1, more game time obviously means faster improvement. 2, he's young, meaning that he's more malleable in regards to really getting to grips with Sarri's tactical instructions. We've already seen that Sarri complained about his lack of movement in behind, and we've seen recently already that he is picking up on this very quickly. And for the 3rd, and most important reason, the first 2 steps are followed, this should mean that he's going to become an even better player for the start of next season. And I feel like when it comes to young players, this is the one common thing that's constantly forgotten about. Look at Cristiano Ronaldo. When the guy was 18 years old playing for Man United, he was treating the game like a 5-a-side pitch. He was constantly doing skills. He was a far cry from the player he is now. What happened is he developed with the right tactical instructions and the right system. That's what happens. Callum Hudson Atoy can easily become a different player in the future depending on how we use him now. These are the most crucial years for young players to really step up their game and show whether they can become top class or even world class talents. And let's be serious, Willian and Pedro, they're not going to be improving. It's not going to happen anymore. They're too old. I know I sound ageist, I don't mean to, but it's the reality. These guys aren't going to become better players in the future. And for me, a more developed Callum Hudson Atoy is only going to be better for us and for our future. But you guys, in the comment section below, of course, give me your thoughts and opinions. Do you feel like Callum Hudson Atoy should still remain patient? Or do you think, you know what, enough's enough? Let's start using this guy if we don't even have the players for the system in the first place. Let's build for the future. Now, moving on to the second talking point, and should we sympathise for Sarri? Now, for me, I think we should. Now, the typical things I've been reading about Sarri are he's too senile, he's not flexible enough, he has no plan B, and I feel like all the opinions people have are a bit misguided because they don't take into account the full picture and the full context. Now think about this one crucial thing. We signed Sarri specifically for his philosophy on the game. That was the main point. We wasted all this time in the summer trying to sign the guy in the first place. So I don't understand why people keep constantly saying he should give up on what even gave him his reputation in the first place to help get the best out of mediocre players. Like, imagine signing Pep and expecting him to play defensive football because he has to use guys like Zabaleta and Kolarov as fullbacks. Of course not. So the whole tactical development of the team should be hampered by the fact that a few players that aren't good enough and that won't be here forever should be accommodated? That makes no sense. And one thing we constantly keep forgetting about is Sarri was signed for the potential long-term sustainability that we need. Look at how we've been run over the past few years. We brought in short-term managers where we get short-term success, but then we suffer and we die very slowly. Why can't we do it the other way round? Why don't we suffer for now, knowing that in the future we can move on to better things? We've seen a history already with clubs like Liverpool having Klopp and clubs like Man City with Pep Guardiola. Because they remain patient and believe in the process, they're really harnessing the rewards from that. Like, for God's sake, let's flip the script for once in our lives. Let's not constantly expect success with a team and a squad that isn't good enough. Like, do people honestly feel like if Sarri goes to a plan B, we're gonna be Champions League contenders or title contenders? No, the reality is these players aren't effective enough and the squad balance, they don't complement each other fully. You know, last night I did tweet about the fact that people moaned last year about the players not being good enough. Last year people kept complaining about the players not being good enough for Conte. Now this year, people have conveniently decided to flip the script. Now they're making out that the manager is the real reason and the players are completely fine. We can't have it both ways. We can't. We either believe in the process or we go back to what we normally do and still keep complaining about the same things 5, 10, 20 years from now. But anyway, moving into the third talking point for today's video, and that's in regards to something I have been thinking about for a while. And does Eden Hazard have a bit too much license and freedom to do what he wants? And is it really beneficial for the team? Now at this point, I don't personally feel like I have the answers. I would have to watch more games to really get an understanding if this point's right or if it's only a theory. So all I'm saying is keep an open mind. Now one interesting thing I have noticed is that when Emerson's playing, I've seen that Hazard is taking up even more central positions. But is this necessarily the best thing? When we saw the game against Bournemouth, we barely saw any connections with Emerson or Hazard down the flanks, and this is where I do get a bit frustrated. We know when we play against teams like Bournemouth, their approach is going to be staying compact, keeping their shape very deep, and if you've got your best player playing in the middle and there's no width in the team, all you're doing is further congesting the pitch. And when you congest it so much and so much and so much, you really struggle to break through teams, and this is how we become very static and very slow when it comes to playing our possession football. Now, of course, managers recently have given Hazard that freedom. It started with guys like Mourinho. You know, he understood that if I'm using Hazard up front, I can't really rely on him to get back in position. So I feel this was one of the reasons as to why he used Azpilicueta as a defensive left back. But to be honest, I think that it was to help out John Terry as well. But with Conte, we saw that when it came to defending off the ball, Hazard wasn't normally tasked with dropping deep. That was either down to Willian or Pedro, and he was allowed to actually do whatever he wanted. And I'm thinking, does Hazard really get the best out of his freedom? I feel like with the positions he takes up, he's always too central. Now, I think to get the best out of Hazard, which we don't necessarily do, because we don't have the right personnel, he does need someone like an Olivier Giroud to actually play off with, and he does need proper support. I think we could fully help him out if Ruben is tasked with constantly playing all the time, because I feel with Ruben, he can provide that impetus down the left-hand side that Hazard normally does. And if he's there, he's only going to help our fullbacks. We kind of saw this already when he was introduced in the game. We saw that we started to keep the ball a bit and we were trying to create moves down that left-hand side. But I feel like if we don't have those conditions, what Hazard does is he forces us to play even more narrower and we become more congested as a team. You know, I like Hazard wide. I like that because he gets to stretch teams. It messes up their shape because whenever Hazard's on the ball, you have to accommodate him. You have to put men on him. You have to deal with him. He's one of the few players in this league that you can't turn your attention away. And remember this point, because when you combine it with the fact that we don't have a number 8 that breaks the lines or really attacks, our fullbacks don't really support our game, you notice that the main creativity is focused solely on 2 players take on that creative responsibility by themselves. Of course not. It's not FIFA. It doesn't work like that. Hazard is the type of player that, when he's playing, the play tends to gravitate towards him. And if he's taking up these central positions where we don't have a team that utilises the flanks without him, it's not helping us. So my thing is, Hazard, please, play for the team a bit more. Follow the manager's instructions. Sarri even said himself afterwards that Hazard can be a bit frustrating. Hazard himself has said this. At the same time, I do like that side to his personality. I like that purity in terms of how he views football and how he wants to play the game, because I agree. That's why I fell in love with football in the first place. I want to see magical moments like that. And we have to accept that if Hazard wasn't who he is, would he be the same player that I hope most of us still love? That's an interesting question for you guys in the comment section below, so I'd love to hear your opinions. Now I've got 2 more points to make, starting with the 4th one. And why do we struggle to create chances for our forwards? Now with Higuain, let's be serious, he isn't fully fit. Sarri took him off as a substitute for a reason because of this. You know, Sarri did take him off for a reason because of this. And this links back to my earlier point about not thinking about the bigger picture. Sarri's not taking off Higuain for no reason, let's be serious. I actually feel like Sarri kind of hesitates to bring on Giroud because he knows when he brings on Giroud, it's purely as a last resort. Because when he comes on, the team start playing towards him and they ignore all the tactical instructions that they work on in the training sessions. It happens every single time. We just tend to look for long balls and direct balls to Giroud. But even then, the main benefit Giroud does provide is his link-up play. His ability to bring in the other wide players to score goals. But he's not a natural scorer himself. Now, I do feel with Higuain we have this. But as we've seen already, the team really struggle when it comes to creating those opportunities. And I was alluding to this in the last talking point. We congest the pitch too much. If you're a poacher, it means that you're playing without the ball, meaning that the team need to create space for you to attack. If there's no space, if it's too congested, what can you really do with your movement? What ends up happening is you get crowded out, you get double marks, and you really struggle to shake defenders off to find opportunities to score. Look at our wide play. It's so incredibly one-dimensional. Aspie constantly finds the first man, and it's like, Aspie, by now, can't you try to use a different crossing technique? Can't you go for the far post or the near post? Can't you actually try to bend it in? What's happening? We saw last season when you were pumping those balls to Morata, you even made Morata score. Why can't you differentiate your final ball in the final third? And you have to realise too, with Sarriball to work, creativity needs to be provided by the number 8 and the fullbacks as well. And so far, with Cover, Alonso and Aspie, that's not the case. And I feel like our forwards are kind of struggling to get those opportunities. Now, if you guys watched my earlier video, you would know my point. We have to embrace the attack. I've said this a lot. Let's focus on trying to score, outscore our opponents before we decide to win the game and seal it out. Let's do something different, because otherwise what we end up doing is we're going into the second half with no goals, giving the advantage to the opposition teams, making it even harder for us because as Sarri realises, damn, this team can't create anything. I need to bring on Giroud. Once this guy comes on, we become even more susceptible on the counter-attack because the team don't keep the ball, they don't keep their shape, and they just focus on pumping balls forwards. And you guys, you know, I have to move on to the final talking point, and that's in regards to the fact, is this squad good enough for Sarriball? And I'm hoping that all of you are going to share my opinion by agreeing, no, this team isn't, but that's what happens in football. Sarri inherited this team. It's not a team that Sarri's been given over time, so we have to sympathise with him when it comes to this. He's doing the best he can, but please, we signed this guy specifically for his philosophy on football. We signed him for Sarriball. We didn't sign him for anything else other than that, because if we did, we would have looked at other managers like Blanc, or if we wanted to play counter-attacking football, we would have signed Jardim from Monaco. If anyone says that Sarriball isn't working, I think you're a liar and you're not being objective. Look at the potential. Look at us when it comes to our build-up play from the back. You have to say we're one of the best teams in Europe at beating the press in our own half and starting attacks from deep. I think the synergy between Luiz, Rudiger, Jorginho and Kepa is amazing, and it gets me thinking that this is only going to improve. Kepa's going to get better, Rudiger hopefully is going to get better, Christensen's going to get better as well, and you can see that the players at the back really understand all the circulations when it comes to playing out from the back. And this is why you rarely see teams winning the ball back within or around our 18-yard box. And that's like the foundation of Sarriball. The issue we have is that once we cross our half into the other half, everything breaks down. And I feel that comes down to the responsibility of the offensive players ahead. I can't keep saying this point every time. It does frustrate me in the comment section because I feel like I do make things quite clear and people just dismiss the points. You can't dismiss it. This all adds up. If you're dismissing it, you're not being objective. We're all the same fans. Come on. Let's be objective for once. Look at how we struggle to break teams down in the final third. I've said this time and time again. The fullbacks aren't making the runs in behind, and their delivery and play in the final third isn't good enough. Our number 8 isn't a number 8. We have 2 number 8s in Barkley and Cover who have played quite a lot due to injuries to Ruben, who haven't really done anything in that role. And because of these things, this makes a frustrated Hazard who ends up doing things by himself. And once Hazard starts doing that, and when he starts not following tactical instructions, everything breaks down in the final third. And this is how we really struggle. Now, I think it's quite hard for this team to really find the solutions to break teams down in the final third. You guys, in my opinion, I think it is going to be a struggle. This team on their day can play well, but it's a consistency thing. Come on, we've beaten teams like Arsenal, Spurs and Man City, and we've lost to them as well. Now for me, Sarriball wouldn't be working if our build-up play was awful. If we constantly kept losing possession in our own half, I would understand that. I understand why people are saying that Sarri can be a bit inflexible. We're noticing that when Jorginho is marked, our play does get affected. But come on, is this the first time Sarri's come up against this tactic? Of course not. The execution isn't there. And I feel personally, for us to see the execution, we need to get more players suited to this style of football. But you guys, that's my thoughts and opinions on everything currently. Please let me know in the comment section what you're thinking. Have I been able to help you change your opinion or see things from a different perspective? Let me know. If not as well, let me know why you don't agree with me. Come on, let's keep the discussion going. Please, this channel isn't a reactionary channel. You guys know I try my hardest to be objective every single time. Come on you guys, let's all do the same thing. Let's still keep believing in the process. It's not time to be impatient. Sarri, in my opinion, is the right guy to take us to the same levels as teams like Liverpool and Man City. And those teams should be examples for us, because if you embrace the manager's philosophy, if you really buy into it, you really start to reap the benefits. Liverpool have a possibility of winning a league. I don't think any of us want to see that. But that's come down purely to the fact that they embrace Klopp's mentality, they sign all the players he needs to get the best out of it. And look at them now. We can do the same thing with Sarri. Sarri is the right guy for this job. Don't stop believing in him. But yeah, I know it's sounding kind of Disney right now. I think it's about time to keep this moving. Thank you for watching. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. Signing out.